You're already recording?
I have to get out things.
What?
Why is your hair like...
I told you, my hair's messed up.
You ready? But you're so cute.
Hmm?
You're so cute. Hi guys. So we just reached our 100 days of travel, and so I decided to make a video about our top 5-ish favorite things and least favorite things that have happened on the trip so far. So I wrote them down. I gotta get my phone out for this. And we're gonna start off with the top 5, do we decide good or bad?
Bad first.
Top 5 bad things that have happened so far. The number 5 thing, like the least out of the 5, I guess, is we traveled all the way to Australia, and then within Australia, we traveled all the way to South Australia so that we could swim and cage dive with great white sharks. And we were super prepared. We did and booked 2 different tours just in case we didn't see them. We would have 2 chances. We booked with the best tour company out there for this, and we didn't see any sharks.
No sharks.
So it's still the number 1 thing on my bucket list, I guess, but since we already tried doing it, I don't know if it still counts, because we did try. So that was a super bummer. And my best friend Shannon also flew all the way to Australia and met up with us so she could swim with sharks too, and she didn't get to see any either, so that just makes it like a little worse. Okay. Number 4 is we got sick in Bali, and it wasn't Bali belly, and it wasn't like the flu. It was like it was a weird combination of both. I don't know. I got sick first, and it was like super sudden, and then a couple of days later Seamus got it, and he actually got it worse than I did, and we were down for the count for a whole week, like didn't leave the room, super sick. And luckily we were in Bali for 3 weeks, so we still had time to like do everything we wanted, but it was a major bummer. Number 3 is we booked a tour through TripAdvisor and basically got ripped off. I just posted a video about this a couple days ago, so you should watch that video. But we did end up getting our money back. It was just really stressful because you plan on doing something that day and then no one came to pick us up, and then we called the company and they just kept hanging up on us. And you know, if we were on a strict schedule, like that would really suck, because then that day we wouldn't have been able to see what we wanted to, and if we had to leave the next day we wouldn't have gotten to see it at all. So that's a bummer. And we booked it through TripAdvisor, which is like a huge company.
I think reliable.
And then actually a couple days ago, there isn't a video up yet about this, but when we landed in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh, we had an Airbnb scheduled, and we had like messaged, if anyone's used Airbnb, you message the host and they give you like the instructions and stuff. And when we landed and got cell service, the lady emailed us and basically said that like she needed us to move to a different location for the night. And actually we read about this Airbnb scam a couple months ago, so we were aware, and that's a big no. Like if they ever want to change the location, you just cancel the reservation and contact Airbnb, because it is a scam. Airbnb was really good about it. We contacted them and they gave us our money back, and we got $25 back, so, or a gift card for the next day, which coincidentally we go to another Airbnb tonight, so hopefully that one's good.
Yep.
And hopefully it doesn't happen again. If it does, Airbnb's gotta get their together. Well, the number 2 thing was drivers in New Zealand. And not just drivers, driving in New Zealand. Seamus did all the driving when we were in New Zealand. He did all the driving. I didn't drive at all. But it was like the overall experience. So we had a camper van for 36 days. And the first thing is you're driving on the left, which actually isn't that bad. Especially because the roads are pretty isolated. So unless you're in the city, which was like the most stressful part, like changing lanes and like turning and stuff, I can't even tell you like how many times we got like dirty looks, or we legitimately got cussed out like the first hour we were driving. And supposedly like we made a left-hand turn on a red, which is basically running the red light, but the light was green. And you know, not really in California, but in other cities in the United States, they have like a left turn green signal or arrow, and then it turns yellow, and then there's like the red, and it was a green light. And so every time we turned left after that, we basically sat there and waited for like all the lights to turn green, and then we would get honked for waiting. So there was no like good thing. And then all the New Zealand drivers speed. Like the max in any part of New Zealand is 100 kilometers an hour, which is like 62 miles an hour. And all of the locals go faster than that. Like, it's a joke. And so if you're a tourist, when you go and rent a camper van or a car, like they make you watch a video saying like, do this in New Zealand. Driving in New Zealand is different. I couldn't tell you how many billboards we saw where it's like, driving in New Zealand is different. Go slow, don't speed. Like, if you're tired, pull over or whatever. We got cut off so many times. We got flipped off. We got tailgated. And like, I was on Seamus, like, don't speed, don't speed, don't speed. And everyone around us was driving like crazy, like we were the bad people. So, I don't know. It was a bunch of different things, but driving in New Zealand was not fun. At one point, there was like an undercover cop. He was totally a cop. He like was in front of us and then pulled over to the side and then immediately got behind us. And when we passed him, I saw his uniform, like we knew it was an undercover cop, and he followed us for like 10 minutes. Pulled over again when we weren't speeding, we weren't doing anything wrong. And then he got back in behind us, and we saw him a little while later going the opposite direction, speeding so fast, like getting a different car. So I Googled it, and they have like undercover cop cars for speeding, and they're not cop cars, they're like minivans. So don't speed in New Zealand, but also don't be surprised if you get cut off and locals just take you.
Tailgated.
So yeah, that was the number 2 thing. And number 1 in bad things that have happened so far on our trip was that on our last day of snorkeling in Cairns at the Great Barrier Reef, Seamus got a really bad sunburn on the back of his legs, and it actually developed into a 2nd-degree sunburn. So he ended up with giant blisters on the back of his legs, like little eggs on the back of his thighs, and it took weeks to heal. Like, his legs were red up until like a couple weeks ago. It took like 7 weeks for it to tan out, but I mean, he had to stay out of the sun for like days. The reason why he didn't go with Shannon and I to swim with sea lions was because his legs were that bad. Luckily, he has a high pain tolerance, so it was bad enough to where we probably should have went and got him looked at, but we didn't, and he survived.
It went away.
It went away. It took a long time. Break is something. Who wants to break?
Yeah.
So on to top 5 best things on our trip so far. The food has been really good almost everywhere we've went. Specifically, the food in Malaysia, which we went to Malaysia for the street food, was great. I don't think we had a bad dish anywhere. I know we've been in pretty like modernized countries, so to be continued on that. Next thing is 4, and the Bali sunsets, and specifically like the smoothie bowls, so I guess that is food too, but Bali sunsets were pretty amazing.
Bali and Gili.
Yeah, I guess we'll add Gili into that too. Gili had great sunsets. There was like this purple one at one point, and like you see the pictures on Instagram or whatever, but everyone edits the hell out of Instagram photos, but in real life, still great. Next thing, New Zealand nature. So I know Seamus still, New Zealand was like his favorite thing so far. We did a lot of hiking in New Zealand, and a lot of bird watching, and a ton of waterfalls. I don't think we'll ever see as many waterfalls in our lives again as we did in New Zealand. We had one hike in particular, Temple Basin, which we didn't read about at all. We actually just asked one of the rangers, and he suggested we do that one, and we weren't even gonna do the whole thing. We were just gonna walk for a little bit, because he had said, like, you don't have to do the whole thing, you just walk up the mountain 30 minutes and you get great views. Well, we ended up doing it and going all the way up to the top of the mountain, and it was amazing. And the hike itself wasn't that bad. I don't really do well with elevation or anything, but that hike was definitely worth it, and we definitely suggested it to a few other people we saw in New Zealand too. Next thing, snorkeling in Gili. So I think we've both agreed that snorkeling has become one of our favorite pastimes so far on this vacation. We did it a lot in Australia, we did it a lot in Gili, and Gili was amazing for snorkeling. We went on 3 tours, which were really cheap. I think together we paid less than $70 US for those 3 tours. But you saw so much stuff, and it was right off the shore too. So one day we just rented mask and snorkel from a restaurant and walked out and saw sea turtle. So I would go back to Gili just for the snorkeling. And we've gotten a lot better at being able to dive down on our own and free dive and get really good footage and see more things. And we saw clownfish that were like 30 feet below the water, and I don't know. I really like snorkeling, and
do it again in Phuket.
Yeah, we're going, I don't know if we're saying it right, but Phu Quoc Island in Vietnam we're going, and they have snorkeling too, so hopefully it just continues to be good. Okay, and the number 1 thing we have on our list is Kangaluna Camp from our time in South Australia. So we went to South Australia mostly to shark cage dive, but we were there for 8 days and we wanted other stuff to do. We really wanted to see the Australian outback, and the closest national park to where we were at was called Gawler Ranges, and we actually rented a SUV so that we would be able to drive there. It was like 4 hours into the park from where we were staying, which is actually like a really long distance in terms of Australia. Being from California, 4 hours is nothing, but other places in the world, 4 hours is a lot of driving. Like, people are worried about you if you drive for 4 hours at once. But I contacted this company, Kangaluna Camp, and they do like day tours to Gawler Ranges. And it just so happened that they had a cancellation, and we were actually able to stay the night at Kangaluna Camp for 1 night. And it just kind of worked out. It was like perfect timing, and yeah, it was meant to be. And so we saw a ton of kangaroos. We got to glamp for the night and stay in like this 2-room tent, and it was kind of perfect. it was a little expensive. So like we only did the 1 day, 1 night thing, and they do usually like 5-day tours. So I don't know if we would have done it if we had to have done the whole thing, but because of that cancellation, we were able to just do the day, and it worked out so great. It was like, if you're ever in South Australia and you want to see the outback and do a little bit of glamping, go with that company, because everyone there was awesome, and it's
like some of the best night skies we've seen too.
Yeah, Seamus got some great photos of astrophotography, and we were able to get like kangaroos in the background and stars, and it was kind of perfect. I don't have anything bad to say about it whatsoever, except for that we had to leave really early in the morning to go back and swim with sea lions. But yeah, so that's top 5-ish great things, top 5-ish bad things. We haven't really talked about the bad things because in the vlogs we want to remember all the good things and all the fun things that were memorable. And so yeah, this is our 100 days of travel video, and we're so excited that we've made it 100 days, and we still have hopefully more than 100 days to go. We still have a lot of things on our list that we want to see, and we hope you continue watching our videos, and I enjoy making them and filming them, and Seamus doesn't like being in them, but I force him, so you know. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or you want us to film any videos, this is our first sit down video. So if you want us to do more of these and how the trip's going, just let me know. Seamus did not like filming this, but if you want to see more of that, then we'll do it. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye.